Chicago cop, we covered this when it first happened. Chicago cop brutalized a 14-year-old child. That Chicago cop has now been charged with 2 felonies. Let me remind you of the video. Here it is.
Someone, can you get off my family?
Hey, take this. What happened?
Get off me. Get off. I'm not taking my son's fight.
Like that.
Don't touch my fight. No, it's not.
Can't be doing that. Hey, get your hands off him.
Get off.
Get your hands off him. Get your hands off him. Get your hands off him. Get your hands off him.
Hold on. Get off me, man.
Get your hands off him, bro.
Hold on. Damn.
No, he's not.
No, he's not. Man, what the?
14-year-old child outside of Starbucks touched a bicycle, did not steal it, did not attempt to steal it, touched a bicycle. An off-duty cop from Chicago thought this was a threat somehow to his son, at least that was the first narrative, and decided to engage in a physical assault against a 14-year-old. Off-duty Chicago police officer has now been charged for pinning a teenage child to the ground outside of a Starbucks at the beginning of July, believing the child was stealing his son's bike. The parents of the minor pushed for the cop to face felony counts of battery, stating the official racially profiled their son. On Thursday, August 18th, Park Ridge Police Department released a press release stating the Cook County State's Attorney has charged Michael Vitellaro, 49 years of age, with 2 felonies, misconduct and aggravated assault, for his violent interaction on July 1st with Josh Nieves, 14 years old, on the 100 block of South Northwest Highway. The officer, who happens to be a sergeant, which means a supervisor, was captured on video approaching, verbally abusing, and assaulting the child after he alleged to have touched the son's bicycle. According to Ms. Nieves, this is the victim's mother, she believes her son's friends demonstrated a great deal of bravery and courage by standing up to the adult. The family's attorney echoed those sentiments, standing with the parents during a press conference that took place a few days ago. He argued, and I quote, "If it was not for the boys, there's no telling what may have happened." The teen's family believes the officer's conviction and refusal to believe the kids were fueled by racial prejudice, lifting that the child is Puerto Rican and the officer is white. The child was also the only child of color in the gathering. We're still trying to assess the full impact of this traumatic incident on our son, who is only 14 and still processing what happened to him, they wrote. There is absolutely no room in our community for this type of unnecessary aggression against our children. We are grateful for today's progress. Now, I want to remind everybody once again, when did this happen? We covered this in July. We had the video in July. We had the video immediately. Show the video. He's an off-duty cop. Now I want you to think about the irony of this. He's an off-duty police officer. He's in an outing with his family, this off-duty cop. All of a sudden, when he commits an act of violence against a child, he's not arrested for child abuse. He's not arrested for violation of oath. He's not arrested for physical assault or battery. He's let go. He gets to go home and explain himself. And then the wheels of justice move very slow. Now, is he a cop or is he not a cop? Because if he's not a cop during that moment, if he's off duty, he goes to jail. Because there's no protection extended for off-duty cops. If I did something like that to a 14-year-old child, I will go to jail. Doesn't matter what I did for a living. So for some reason, it seems as if cops are able to utilize this privilege at their discretion to stop or significantly slow down the wheels of justice from turning against them. If it had not been for the public pressure placed on this particular incident and the video going viral, that cop would have gotten away with it. This off-duty police officer would have gotten away with child abuse. And even now, the charges do not suggest that this individual will be gone from the police department. And here's why. At some point, they're going to plead this down. I don't think he's going to get a violation of oath of office. I don't think he's going to get a criminal charge for a minor or criminal assault against a minor. I think they're going to plead this out to a misdemeanor. Okay, David, thoughts on this?
Well, I think the privilege goes even further than as you well articulated, because imagine if suppose an off-duty cop had been thrown to the ground and had somebody had a knee on his back from somebody who was much larger, and that video was available immediately. Of course, the police would have made either arrest right on the scene, or they would have gone and busted down the door of that person who did that, and they would have thrown him in jail. The idea that it takes 6 weeks after you guys had this video for them to actually bring charges, and oh, by the way, this is, now it's not even as if the off-duty cop is going to jail. As you mentioned, there'll be discussions with prosecutors. There'll be some sort of plea agreement. I don't think he'll see a night in jail. But if the situation reversed, and again, it was a police officer who had a back in the knee, had a knee in the back from somebody much larger than them, the justice would have been served immediately.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So we're seeing some semblance of justice, but at the end of the day, it's about adjudication. How do these cases finalize? And that has been the disconnect, even when we see some level of justice in the beginning. We're going to continue to follow this story.